here in Austin, Texas at Icon's 3D printed house with Belinda and Chance Carr. And we're going to talk a little bit about our time in this 3D printed house here, what we think about the design, the styling, and as architects, Belinda and Chance have so much knowledge and perspective to bring to the table. So I really want to thank you guys so much for joining me today and taking the time to have this conversation.
Thank you for organizing this. You set all this up and invited us. Really appreciate it.
Well, I've seen a lot of your videos, and I've always appreciated your critical analysis of the various topics you cover, all in construction, whether it be windows or insulation methods. You're always bringing a critical eye to the table, and the new YouTube channel you guys have together, Carr Builds.
Yes.
Following your real estate investments and your home renovations is pretty cool to see all that transparently online.
And your stuff's incredible too. I mean, you found a niche and you're exploring it, and I think it's the only dedicated 3D printed channel on YouTube.
For now, someone will come along and do better than me eventually.
But you'll be the first.
Yes.
First to market.
Yeah, they won't be able to take that away from you. So, what do you think so far? We've been here for like 3 hours. Now that it's a little bit lived in, we've cracked a couple ranch waters, IPAs.
Had some pizza, yeah.
What do we think of this house?
Pretty incredible. I don't know if I had it. I had some expectations coming in, design expectations from the exterior, from all the exterior photos that I've seen and from all your drone footage, and it's met those expectations. It's very elegant on the outside. The contrast between the painted white 3D printed concrete and the black metal exterior on the upper floors is beautiful. It's a beautiful contrast, and it fits in with the rest of the community here because there are other houses with metal cladding. So there's some sort of design aesthetic going on over here, and it's very modern farmhouse style, I guess you would call it. But on the interior as well, I love that they have the walls exposed, so you appreciate it. You have some of the perfect prints, but you have the imperfections as well. That's just, it's on display. I'm sure there are some people who would not like the imperfections, who would prefer it to be smooth plaster, but as designers or as architects, I really appreciate that they embraced it. They didn't try to cover it up. And overall, the house seems very well sealed, not just the lower concrete portion, but even the stick built upstairs. Very well sealed. The windows are very well sealed. It's a very impressive house. Yeah.
I agree. I don't know if when you say well sealed, if that means maybe it's too well sealed.
Too well sealed.
Because we have the air things detector, which shows that there's a high level of carbon dioxide. And so we feel like maybe some more air needs to be circulated.
Yeah.
But the windows
I'm
are
just talking too much.
Yeah, that's true.
But so we had another person here. We were having a couple beers and pizza, and I guess as we were all there talking, the room kind of filled with carbon dioxide as your device was able to detect.
Yes,
and
it did spike.
We saw it decrease?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet, no. It might, because she has since left, and it just depends on what the HVAC unit does, how many air changes per hour are in the space, but because it's so airtight, you always have this disadvantage of extra pressure on your HVAC unit, and you have to size it accordingly.
One thing I just noticed actually was the bathroom. The bathroom upstairs does not have an exhaust.
This one doesn't either.
Which is really surprising because you want to circulate that air out. I know when my brother-in-law's home, their house is all spray foam. And the builder said, hey, you need to run that exhaust a lot because that'll move some of that air out.
Yeah. And
it's surprising that they don't have them at all here.
Mm-hmm. And they seem to have one return vent upstairs. I haven't seen a return vent downstairs.
No.
So that's a little bit of a concern. But
that's an exhaust fan? Or that's just
supply?
That's a supply.
As opposed to return.
Yes.
But you can tell, like today in Austin was a really windy day, and right when you walked in, I mean, it's just silent.
The sound as well. The noise insulation is wonderful. It's like it's deadening.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, a lot of the projects I visited where it's just concrete everywhere, there's so much reverb and the audio is terrible. But I guess having the ceiling and carpet around some furniture
That's
makes it better.
Some soft surfaces, like the furniture, obviously
Yeah.
that helps. Yeah. Speaking of furniture, we also have high VOC levels right now in this house, which is normal for a new house with new furniture. Everything around us is off-gassing. So there's something to consider with every new home that is very well sealed. You need to ventilate it properly for the first 30 days at least that you're living in there. So, yeah.
It's interesting. Usually, a well-sealed home is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
You want a well-sealed home, but there are some precautions you need to take, I guess.
It's pitched as a good thing nowadays. I mean, that's what everybody wants is, I want the well-sealed home, I want the spray foam. But you have to realize what that entails as well. There's
Exactly.
not, having a home that's breezy is not bad. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, because the home works as a system. So if you have no insulation on your outside walls and you have wood studs and a very breezy home, it's okay, because if there's any moisture in your walls, it doesn't get trapped over there. It evaporates and it moves to the outside. And that's why there's no mold in all these old homes. But once you spray foam those walls in that old home and you don't have return vents, then you are changing the way the house works. Because the house works as a system. You can't change one thing and expect the house to work the same way. So you have to think of all these different components together.
That's why when you renovate an old home, they don't recommend you just put spray foam in it, because then you're going to seal it up, and it's intended to be a
Breathable.
home that breathes.
Yeah.
Yeah, people talk about 3D printing a lot and say like it's going to save 90% of the time or 90% of the whatever, but it's, I mean, you guys know it's not the whole house. It's a small part of it. It's just the exterior walls, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
It can be more in the future, I think, but yeah, for now it's just an exterior wall. And then like with this house, for example, it's just stick built upstairs, which is not a bad thing. I mean, at least they're doing something. At least they're experimenting with the idea. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And the joints between the drywall and the 3D printed part, I was very impressed with those joints. In some areas they had an intentional overlap, especially on the outside, which is a beautiful detail. They didn't try to make the metal siding flush with the concrete. I'm glad they didn't do that. They offset it a little bit, or they have canopies, or there's some distinction between the upper floor and the lower floor, which is needed. On the inside, sometimes they try to make it flush and it's a little bit rough in those areas, but for the most part they did try to work that barrier between the smooth finish of the drywall and the rough finish of the 3D printed concrete.
Is
It's
it
very
silica?
over there. That's probably just drywall mud. Yeah.
Spackle?
Yeah. Drywall mud between that joint right there. Yeah.
It's also interesting how you have to make, Belinda and I were talking about this earlier, you have to make a conscious decision when you're designing this home about, it's almost like designing a minimalist home where they want to hide everything, or it just be as minimal as possible when you go into the space, but it still has everything that every other home has. It has your electrical, it has your plumbing, but you have to make those decisions more intentionally in a 3D printed home, because you can't necessarily tear up the concrete. Like this wall back here, they furred out this wall so that they could run the vent from the kitchen
sink.
island up that wall without
And
actually
electrical.
having to go into the concrete.
Yeah, and electrical, water supply, drainage, and the vent. All of those hidden in that bump out. So that's a very intentional design decision.
Or even something as simple as switches, like wiring that is so much easier putting it on a drywall wall as opposed to actually embedding it into the concrete like they did some of these electrical switches.
And that's when you see the imperfections, because these plates are not secured. They're flimsy. You can move them around.
Or just like we were talking about with the lady who was here earlier, said she had ants coming through one of her receptacles because it was not completely sealed.
Yeah.
You guys take a much more critical eye than I do. I saw these outlets and I thought they looked great because the printed lines aren't like messed up around them. A lot of times I'll see they're just really sloppy because when the concrete was wet, they cut something out and there's usually something scrappy around it. So I actually thought those looked good, but
That one is
Yeah,
moves
it's
around
loose.
a lot.
It
Yeah.
shouldn't be loose like that. And there are some gaps between in the cabinets from the ceiling.
Yeah, but that's something you have to expect and embrace. And like with these windows, they framed it out with an extra piece of concrete around. They put the lintel on top, which is metal, and then the concrete around the sides, because the way the 3D printed turns that corner, it's always pretty sloppy.
Yeah, another unique design consideration. Every time they go up a layer, there's a point where they have to go from the one layer to the next. So there's an ugly kind of they had to hide that somewhere, and I haven't seen it in this house, so I'd imagine it's either
outside.
Maybe on the outside, maybe it's in between one of these windows. So
yeah, it could be right there because it's kind of a double wall where it turns. I wonder if they put it on the interior. But that's interesting. Do you think they do it all in the same spot, or do you think they try to hide it continuously? Like, oh, we'll start this layer here, we'll start the next layer here, so that it won't all be in one location.
Usually they'll do it all in one spot. Sometimes they'll stagger it so it's 10 or 20 centimeters away from the last one. But generally it's all in one place. It's something that hasn't been optimized yet.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say what they're doing now is necessarily the best route forward with anything that involves like a new technology, right?
Yeah.
It could be something that they figure out how to cover up that detail. Maybe it's at a window or something where they know they're going to put some framing around it.
I wonder about these windows. Are they custom windows? Because obviously when you're printing, you're not going to get it to the perfect rough opening. So they put these concrete pieces. Did they make up that rough opening in the thickness of the concrete pieces? I don't know.
Did they have to cut up some concrete in order to hit that opening?
It doesn't look like they cut up any concrete. It looks like, I don't know.
It's a great question. Most of the houses I've seen have had thicker window frames, so they've had 2 or even 3 2x4s framing out around the printed wall. But here they've left very little margin, so there's like a very thin bezel. Either good planning or custom windows. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I know it's not a bad thing, but when you look at the windows, that's where you see the imperfections. But like you think of 3D printed as being perfect, it's every layer stacks on top of it.
Made
perfectly.
by machine, so it has to be perfect.
Yeah, but then you take into account weight and gravity, things like that, and you can see the imperfections. But you also kind of embrace it. It's an educational tool.
A lot of times around the corners, when you have that change in acceleration, it rattles the gantry system, and then you end up with that rattle alters the path of the extruder head, and you get some kind of inconsistency. And sometimes it's a regular inconsistency. Like you can see the other side of, I think it's that wall, where on the outside there's like a wavy pattern that is continuous from top to bottom.
Okay, didn't notice that. Check it out in the morning. So I wonder if that's where they hid all the stopping points that you talked about. Right there, right where that concrete thing is, right behind that.
I can see it being there at the front door or somewhere they know that they're going to cover it up.
But they're all separate pieces. This is not one continuous print. Because there's that wall, there's a break there.
That's true.
There's this, that might be a continuous piece.
Yeah.
But then it's 3 different pieces. And then there's that wall right where the stair is.
Straight across, yep.
So it's 3 different 3D printed walls. There's a complete brick right there.
True.
So they had to have 3 different stopping points. I'm guessing one is over there, and one was hidden back there in the... I'm just pointing at stuff, you don't know what I'm pointing at. So one's by the window, one's in this half bath downstairs. Another stopping point might be by the front door. I don't know what the other stopping point is, but...
Why couldn't they have just gone another layer up? Why couldn't they have just gone to the second floor? Is that a constraint of the tool?
I've seen 2-story printed homes in other countries.
Germany?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have an apartment building that's actually 3 stories, 2 stories printed, and then they have a house that's 2 stories. You know, I think it's partially a permitting thing. It was easier for them to get rights to print this. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. It's challenging when you can't rely on the structural integrity of the printed wall. Creating that floor, the second floor, is a challenge
because you kind of have to these flow joists have to overlap over the 3D printed concrete,
Right.
and then you continue the print over that.
Yeah.
So that's a tricky
So
joint.
you have to have some sort of joist hanger if it was printed all the way up, and that would have to be inset as they're printing,
Exactly.
like an ICF house or something.
Exactly. Yes. So with an ICF home, they notch out the block. So that's what they would have to do with this house. They print the outer layer continuous, and then the inner layer stops. They have a floor joist, and then they continue over that.
But as Jarrett was saying earlier, they can't rely on the 3D printed
Strength of that. Yeah.
the structural integrity of that,
Yeah.
which is surprising to me because you're missing out on so much.
Yeah. But I think that's the codes that are lagging behind.
Yes.
I think the material is there, the technology is getting there, but as always, anything to do with the government and the codes, that's always years behind. And it's sad, it really is sad. You can't exploit the technology for what it can really do because you have to comply with all these outdated codes.
I guess the architect's responsible for abiding by a code.
Yes.
Yes.
So most architects will operate in like a limited region.
I mean, technically, everyone has to abide by the engineers, architects, builders. Everyone has.
So
to
everyone
abide.
has, you have a building code, you have an engineer's code, plumbing code, electrical code, all that stuff.
But the architects are kind of telling everyone what to do, right, in the drawings.
Not
They
really.
try to,
They
Not
try
how to do it, but
Yeah, but the architects are not going to know the spacing they need for electrical wiring or what
the
size
sizing
pipe
of the
they
unit.
need.
Yeah,
but they
or the
will know
sizing
the
of the
spacing for the studs. No?
Well,
no, it's like 24 or 16.
they'll just give
One of the two.
a typical detail
Yeah.
for that. The contractor's like, yeah, I know
I know
how to
what
do
I'm
this.
doing.
Don't listen to the architect. I know
So
what
the
I'm
architect's
Yeah.
not really so responsible for the specific zoning and the permitting of the region. That's team effort.
Well, the architect is responsible for gathering the documents. So the engineer, the plumber, everyone else sends their drawings, which comply with the codes, sends their drawings to the architect.
Okay.
The architect compiles the drawings and sends it to the city to get a permit. So they themselves, the architect follows the building codes, but then they trust all the other subs to follow their own codes.
So most architects, I guess, like you said earlier, you were kind of already answered this, but would operate in a specific region with similar. You wouldn't just jump into some new town you never worked in before, unless you were like a specialty architect, or is that common?
Well, the building code's pretty. It's called the International Building Code, so it's pretty generic. There are some specifications that are different from state to state. Like as a licensed architect, which we are not, just to be clear.
We're not even architects. We're architectural designers.
We're trained as architects.
We're not allowed to call ourselves architects.
But like from state to state, you have to be registered as an architect in that state,
Okay.
and that's due to their specific building codes and requirements.
They're
Or
just
even
like
as
small
an
tweaks in
engineer.
or as an engineer. Small tweaks in each state.
But it's all pretty similar.
Yeah.
But I mean, a builder for a house like this is going to be very niche as opposed to a builder that's going to do the second floor, a stick build kind of. But that has to do with the builder as opposed to the architect.
Yeah.
Architects can draw anything, really.
I guess the reason I ask is mostly about addressing the scalability questions. Like, if they can print a house, then you naturally jump to, can you copy and paste a house if it can be printed? And so then, can you copy and paste a house and put it anywhere? Code seems to be the limiting factor to that in permitting, and maybe from my perspective, that's been why construction companies in the past haven't had a huge level of scalability in the industry. Stayed fragmented. People specialize in the region where they understand the code and the permitting, but I guess maybe it's more international and cookie cutter than I thought.
The last thing architects want to do is copy and paste a house because they want each and everything to be unique and individual. And to an extent, like, you wouldn't want to build the same. That was a fly. Just so you know. You wouldn't want to build the same house in Miami, Florida, a very humid climate, that you would in Phoenix, Arizona. Very different style of homes. A house like this would work great in Phoenix, but in Florida, it would be very humid, and these concrete walls would hold that humidity. And I'd be very interested. That brings up something that we were talking about earlier: how you don't get mold in older houses, but in well-sealed homes, you don't get mold because the water doesn't seep through. But if there is a leak somewhere, that mold will build fast and it gets stuck behind the wall. I wonder how this house deals with moisture because the concrete is on the outside. What's in between? Mm-hmm. We don't know. We know it's some sort of insulation. We're speculating that it's foam of some sort, maybe not spray foam. But,
EPS of some sort. Probably.
Yeah, but water could seep through that. And what does that do to the interior?
So you're saying like in an old home that's drafty, maybe you might get water inside, but because of the air, the water will just dry out and it's not a problem.
Exactly.
But if it has if it's well insulated and then just one little leak happens into the well insulated part, the water could stay there for a really extended period of time.
Yes.
Because this concrete wall is acting as an air barrier, a vapor barrier, and a water barrier. All three. And yes, it is a double wall with insulation in the middle, but you have to be careful that the water is not trapped in between those two walls. I don't think it's going to be because it's concrete. But just going back to what you were saying earlier about 3D printed concrete in Arizona, given the desert climate there and the red sand, I would be wary about building a white home like this with all the grooves because of how much it can get stained, possibly, over a long period of time.
You wouldn't paint it white.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah. But like with all the Adobe homes that they have there, it's more of like a sand color, natural color that you don't notice the aging over a long period.
So I wonder if in Arizona they could create their own sort of aggregate of...
With local materials.
Yeah, with local materials. And it's sort of like the Adobe home. Is that what it's called? The sandbag home?
Yeah, that's different because like we talked about earlier, when you're 3D printing stuff, you can't just use any aggregate because you're putting this material through a nozzle.
Right.
It can get clumped up and block that nozzle. You can't use any local sand or aggregate or any of that. Mm-hmm. Earthbag homes are much more versatile in that sense because you can just use whatever local materials, pack it into a bag.
But it's more labor intensive.
It's much more labor intensive for sure. But with the 3D printed home, there's a specific ratio, specific ingredients that you need to follow irrespective of where you're building it. Yeah.
So Jared, do you think any company will ever be... It's funny I say this, the Tesla of 3D printing where they release their compound and they're okay with saying, hey,
public knowledge.
Everybody use this, it's fine. Kind of like Elon Musk did with Tesla.
Vertigo released their mix. They I'm not sure exactly where it is, but you can find the ingredients, the Vertigo mix. And also there's a law with concrete that if you buy concrete from any provider, they need to provide you with an ingredient list. So it's mandatory if you're a client of theirs for them to tell you exactly what the material includes.
Wow.
Interesting.
Where is Vertigo based?
In the Netherlands,
okay.
in Eindhoven.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's one of the reasons companies are hesitant to invest in developing the material because it can just be kind of like taken so easily.
Yeah. There's nothing proprietary about it, that's what you're saying?
I would imagine they can get rights to the mix, like patent on the chemicals, but you have to have transparency in the ingredients of concrete when somebody's buying it for a construction project. So
it can be replicated with slight tweaks by someone else.
Yeah, it's not like the Coca-Cola formula where they have like secret...
Or the KFC, right?
Yeah.
The KFC.
Or the Krabby Patty secret sauce.
The what?
You ever watch SpongeBob, the Krabby Patties?
No, what's...
I think I've probably seen that.
Oh.
I've watched a little bit of SpongeBob. But does it really matter? How much does it really matter what each company's putting in their 3D printed house?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think some of the companies have taken the model, like the traditional printing model, where they want to sell a cheaper printer and then have an expensive material where they can make profit off that in the long run. So it might be everything. It might matter a lot to them. I don't know.
So Belinda has mentioned there's only a couple of companies that actually make the 3D printers.
Everyone else is just using either the Cobalt printer or an Apis Core printer or something, or like this is what's the name of this printer? Not Falcon? What's the name?
The Vulcan.
Falcon.
Yeah, so the Icon makes printers, Apis Core makes printers, Construction 3D makes printers, 20 makes printers. Seabay makes printers, Vertigo makes printers, Hyperion makes a printer, AMT makes a printer, Skepta makes a printer, Natura Eco, Mudbots.
Okay, I take that back. Lots of people make printers.
Probably 24.
Okay. Okay. And then there are. Okay, I guess it's still a few compared to the number of people actually printing, because they're just renting out these printers and then printing homes for it.
When you make the people actually printing, if you say like who's actually completed a home, then you're right. It's really only a couple models of printer.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird to me because like the 3D printer that you put in your house, it was always pitched as this. I mean, Belinda's 3D printer is one that you could buy the parts for, put it together yourself, and then start printing. Like
it's nobody. Reality.
Yeah, it's like it's what's the word? It's like open source. Yeah,
and you bought it in pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a similar thing. It's a 4-8 hour journey.
Yeah.
4 to 8 hour.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think these companies are a little scared of other people realizing that, oh, it's just a kit of parts that I can put together and I can start printing? But if that were the case, then it could scale and it could really lower the price of what it costs to print one of these homes and maybe solve homelessness.
That would be the ideal scenario. That's like, I think when I first got into it, that was my naive hope that like 3D printing might solve homelessness. Can anything really solve homelessness?
Don't ask an architect that.
Don't ask.
Because they'll say shipping containers can't.
So, coming back to the PLA printers that you were talking about, the home 3D printers. So Creality and all these big companies started printing, but then there was this one guy, I think, what's the name of that?
Andre Rudenko?
No, it starts with P.
Prusa.
Prusa.
That's the printer I have.
Okay, so that's like the hacker printer. You can buy this part and that part and then put it together the way you want and make your own custom printer. He's the guy who tweeted my...
Oh, okay.
Ooh, Prusa tweeted my video.
No
but
way.
Anyway, yeah, Joseph Prusa. Okay, stop being silly. Yeah, so maybe someone like that comes up, like a Joseph Prusa for 3D printed homes, where you can buy this gantry and this nozzle and print, set up of course, it's whole different scale. It's like $150,000 versus $150.
It's kind of scary to think you put that power in the homeowner's hands. What are they going to do with it?
My favorite part of the Prusa, I think I always say it wrong, but
Prusa? Okay.
I don't know how to say it right, but he says that any printer you buy, you can always upgrade with just the parts. So
that's how he designed it. So you like replace one part, put another part in, and then
it's not like your MacBook where it's expired after a year, your iPhone where you need to get a new one. You can just replace the one piece that you're missing or upgrade whatever you need to. I think that's really just considerate.
Yeah.
It's down the road of right to repair.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just efficient. Like those kind of things just make sense.
Long-term approach rather than short-term.
Absolutely.
So besides 3D printing, you've taken down a lot of technologies on your channel.
Taken down or brought awareness to?
Notably container homes. You really brought a lot of the realities to light. Are there any looking ahead, maybe promising solutions or for housing and construction, or do you think that we've kind of lost our way a little bit with all this experimentation and the traditional methods might have been the way to go?
No, I think experimentation is needed. I think as we've seen over the last couple of months, that we really need automation in the construction industry. It is desperately needed. We have relied so heavily on manual labor for so long, just because it's difficult to automate everything that goes into building a house. But I'm for 3D printing. I think that is a good step. And you kind of mentioned this in one of your videos. We don't know what the future of 3D printed house is going to be. Maybe it's not for the house itself. Maybe it's something completely different. And I don't know what it's going to be, but we have to go through this period of trial and error and experimentation and failures and all that stuff to figure out what the next phase is. I don't think timber frame homes and I don't know what, cutting down your own trees in your forest and shaping it into logs and building your own home is the answer. Definitely not.
I would love to do that.
How much is your time worth?
Was it like Floki in
Vikings?
Vikings?
Yeah.
He built his own boat out of all the trees that surrounded his house. But that was incredible.
Floki?
Floki.
That's Elon Musk's dog's name.
Oh.
That's Ragnar's friend, foe.
Yeah.
Was that the Shibu Inu?
Yeah, but somebody else made one because Elon Musk got some new dog, like some Shiba Inu like hybrid mixed dog or something.
Okay.
And he named it Floki, and then like of course a day later someone made like a new cryptocurrency Floki, and it's up like 1,000,000%. We could have been billionaires if we just invested in Floki last week.
I saw that. Now that you say that.
It's the next Solana. It's Lana.
We're talking about real solutions, not fictitious.
You never do crypto videos.
I don't do crypto videos, no.
It's a,
I'm so cynical about shipping containers. Imagine me making a video about crypto.
you know what's ironic is that you made a video and you praised shipping containers being used as crypto mining.
I did! Yeah, that's true. No one wants to watch that video. YouTube's not going to push that. Push this stupid video with a scam on it.
YouTube's so funny about what it pushes and what it doesn't. Like, it's so unpredictable. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then it's like 6 months later, hey, we decided to push this video. I don't even remember making that video, but thank you. Okay.
For me, it's frustrating because I put in a lot of effort to travel to the locations, like everywhere I visit, go to the house. But my 2 biggest videos I've ever done are just voiceover videos that I did at home sitting at a desk behind a computer with footage someone emailed to me. Like, they took maybe probably less time than all my other videos, but something about. But I think the video I did in this house is really going to perform well because the lighting was just optimal and I think the audio quality was there. I just think everything is going to align for this one. We'll see.
Hope so. Yeah. You're going to get it out in the next 12 hours, right? You said
maybe. We'll see. I did prepare a video to launch tomorrow just in case I don't finish it. So
okay.
I have some.
Ooh, you're better prepared than I am. I'm just like, I was supposed to release it last week and then I'm panicking and then 30 minutes after I export it, I'm just like, okay, get it up. I don't want to see it anymore. Which is a very, very bad approach. I know. I overthink everything.
I don't know what's a good approach or a bad approach. I mean, some people take breaks, some people are consistent. I miss weeks all the time, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just don't sacrifice your mental health for the sake of YouTube videos.
But what if that would get me double the views?
I might be crazy, but I have double the views. It's okay.
I feel like depending on like the level of I would sacrifice some level of my mental health for double views. I would. 1%, sure. 5%, why not? 10, 20. But I don't think I have to sacrifice too much mental health to make videos. I feel like I'm lucky to be able to do this. So.
Sounds like you're having fun.
Sounds like you got some great experiences as well.
Yeah.
Are you having fun?
I am, yeah. I wish I would travel more like you do, but at the same time, I like being at home and like being in Dallas and doing my own thing. Being on the road, what you said, 50 weeks out of the year, seems exhausting. I don't know if I could do that. Yeah,
it's a lot sometimes, but it's I feel like they're building 3D printed houses so fast now. I'm not going to get to them all in time unless I keep going. So.
I didn't realize there was so much out there already that you've already seen.
Yeah,
amazing.
And there's a lot of missing still. I think I'm going to stay in America for like a year or so, let some more projects pop up in Europe, and then head back over there next year and hopefully get a bunch done all at once. We'll see. What are your future, any big plans for the channel coming up that you're allowed to talk about?
No plans.
Spray foam.
So I've visited a spray foam factory back in April. And we're now almost in November and I still haven't edited that damn video.
Did you have to wear like health protective PPE or?
No, we didn't.
Not toxic?
I actually wore the same outfit, the red shirt. I've got like 5 shirts, I just cycled it. But you probably do too since you're living out of your car.
True. Yeah,
Minimal.
I go home maybe like 4 times a year or so, and I'll like trade a couple shirts with my brother so that the people on the internet don't see this.
Oh, I forgot I was still running. Whoops.
Okay. That would ran out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, you continue.
I try to like switch it up a little bit so that I'm not
Don't
wearing
go
the
too
same.
far away, you're going to be out of frame.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you.
It's fine. Just talking about shirts.
Yeah, you have to pack pretty light to be able to be on the road all the time.
Yes, I do.
Are you exhausted?
No, I wouldn't say I'm exhausted. I am eager for like more, and I feel like I've been getting towards my goals enough to keep me motivated, but there's still so much between where I am and where I want to be, so it's just gotta go. No time to
Stop.
yeah.
Do it for as long as you can. The energy you have now, you're not going to get that back. I sound like I'm 40,
You do.
50.
You act like it sometimes
tired.
too.
I'm so tired.
What I really like is the days where everything goes like terrible. Like when I'm driving, like one time my wheel cracked off the axle while I was driving and it just started wobbling. I drove another like 2 hours just trying to like figure out. I finally take it into a shop and the guy's like, it's totally detached. We just like pull it off the car. And I had an appointment, I was late to it, whatever, but it's like when the moments that are difficult, it's like these are the times, this is why I have the channel, because somebody else wouldn't have gone through that difficult moment or whatever. Or I don't know if you've ever been like recording and then the audio's messed up or like something just gets in the way. Like
I lost a memory card.
Yeah, that's brutal.
We're still looking for that.
Just disappeared.
Those are the moments that make winners.
Yeah, it's a good point. Just keep going.
I try to relish those moments. Just appreciate the opportunity to be miserable and about them. You're new to your YouTube journey now, Chance.
Absolutely.
What do you think getting started? How many videos are on the channel now?
No, we have a few podcasts actually that we did every once in a while. We would just talk about how cynical we are about everything.
Just you two?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fun.
just us. And then we realized, hey, if we react to videos, it would be a little bit more popular.
Probably.
So we did that, and then we were like, let's just do the podcast thing again. And now we're renovating a house, so we've definitely made some progress on it, but I've been slacking a little bit, so I'll get around to it. But it's just sort of a fun thing. It's something for us to document our journey.
It's nothing serious. It's not like we're trying to monetize that channel and become house flippers or anything like that. It's just something that 10 years down the line, we can look back and watch those videos and say, hey, that's how we did this stuff. You know, like a sentimental, nostalgic thing.
Yeah.
It's not something that
Yeah,
we're trying
definitely
to get
not.
views on.
We're not teaching people anything new
No.
because basically
There are much better channels you can learn from.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it's our journey and we like to have fun with it.
Yeah.
So it's also an opportunity for people to get to know Belinda's more informal side because she's always very straight to the point with her videos, and so we do
This
like
is
to
how
have
it's
fun.
supposed to be.
People appreciate that about your videos, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I tried to start a second channel just to do print videos, like just a time lapse of a print or like with no audio or voiceover. I'm not in the video. It hasn't really taken off though. We'll see. Maybe I'll put music behind it or something. I don't know. I was thinking it was like ASMR kind of, but the sound is like.
Yeah, not exactly what you want.
It's tough keeping up with more than one channel.
Yeah, I don't know why people do it. Really.
It's like Evan and Caitlin, they've got like 6 channels.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the point is of it. I mean, we did it because other people do it, kind of, I guess. We didn't want all this mixed content on Belinda's channel. But I don't really understand why people like make that break. Is it because they've monetized their channel and they've basically sold out on their main channel and they're like, okay, I want to start fresh with this other channel and I want to hold on to it.
I sometimes wish I had put my podcast on a different channel. And I think most of the reason people do it, the reason I want to do it, is algorithm differences. So if your algorithm learns people who like house tours, they want to keep showing them those house tours. But if I then all of a sudden go do a podcast, hour-long podcast, it messes the algorithm because they don't know who wants to watch which.
That algae rhythm.
So important, so
It's
mysterious.
like, please, the algorithm god, what do you want from me?
It's been working for you.
Oh gosh, I don't know.
What kind of animal did you have to sacrifice?
My soul. No, I don't know. I just don't know what happened. The last 2 weeks have been...
Yeah, it was funny. We were thinking, hey, maybe by the end of the year you can hit 100,000. And then she hit 100,000, and then 7 days later she hit 150,000. We're like,
So crazy.
okay.
I didn't do anything different. But
How many subscribers? A month ago you had 70,000?
70? 80?
80?
Probably.
Now
Yeah.
it's like 160?
Yeah.
Double.
Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you.
I think I first saw your channel when you had like low 20,000s.
Last year. Yeah. I think I started the pandemic. I was still working as a BIM manager,
Yep.
BIM coordinator.
Yep.
It was a whole lifetime ago.
Time flies when there's a global pandemic.
Yeah. I think that's the hard thing that I faced with this YouTube thing. It's like, is it a career? Is it a long-term thing? Is it sustainable? Is it something I want to do 10 years from now? That's why I kept going back to an 8 to 5 and then coming back and trying to do this at the same time, which is absolutely impossible because it's a full-time job making all these videos. And then I would get frustrated because I wasn't feeling fulfilled and then come back to this. And now I think I've been doing this for 4 months.
Frustrated at the 8 to 5.
Frustrated with myself, frustrated that I couldn't balance the 8 to 5 and the YouTube thing.
But which fulfilled you more?
The YouTube thing, obviously. Like I wasn't being challenged at the 8 to 5, I wasn't learning anything new. But I feel like I can learn something new every day with this YouTube channel. And I think that's something really important with this YouTube thing. Do it for yourself. Don't start this whole thing with the intention of doing it for the audience, because then you'll never be satisfied. Like with you seem to have this burning desire to learn as much as you can about 3D printing, visit every house out there. So yeah, the views are important, the audience is important, but it's also your personal growth. And I think that is that should be your grounding reason for why you're doing this. Because otherwise you get lost. You're lost. You're like, why am I doing this anymore? No.
A lot of people that know me much better than you know me don't see that, and they don't really understand. They're like, oh, you're trying to get views, like, but you're totally right. Like, it's about I knew going into it that having a YouTube channel would help the companies be more willing to talk to me. Mm-hmm. So like, if anything, it's more of like an access tool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a stepping stone to whatever the next thing is.
You're marketing yourself.
Yeah, that's definitely a byproduct of YouTube's great. I mean, all the ancillary benefits and stuff, and even like supportive comments, and like it feels good when people are like, oh, nice video. Like,
yeah.
Thanks.
But don't let that get to you, because you'll have like 100 good comments, and then there's that one comment that just hits you, and you're like, ah, why do I pay attention to any of this?
Yeah, I think I haven't ever had a video on YouTube with over 1 million views, and I think when you're really small still, you don't get a lot of comments. So
you have that core group of people like cheering you on.
yeah, it's mostly kindness.
Yeah.
But I guess when you have a couple videos that are like multi millions, and then it's just like total strangers flowing in from YouTube. They're like,
yep,
you clicked on it, dude. Why are you cursing me out?
Yeah, got to block all that out somehow. It's pretty amazing that people can block that kind of stuff out because there are some pretty terrible people out there, whether they made it or not. But it's pretty amazing that so many people have the ability to just continue and keep going and push through that.
But I think you face that no matter what you do. Like, it's not just social media or building a digital business.
When you're successful.
Yeah, when you reach some amount of success, then it's like, then that envy or hatred or something comes out in people. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, whatever. When they were small, it was, hey, we're cheering you on, we're cheering you on. You hit that mark, and then suddenly it's like, no, you shouldn't be making that much money. We don't like you anymore. Or you're too famous. This is not right. So.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I want my YouTube channel to grow, and so I don't want to say like I want that problem, but I get that'll like come with the things that I do want. So I guess it's just like prepare for it.
Yeah. For me, it was like, hey, I have like 2,000 subscribers, and this bloody shipping container video goes viral, and then overnight it's like, how dare you Indian tell me what a scam is, and you're the actual scam. And it's just like overnight something in me had to like wrap my head around this whole thing and realize what I want to turn off, what I want to keep listening to. Do I really want to keep doing this anymore? But it was a good wake-up call.
That's
very good.
Like Jarrett was saying earlier, it's the character you build is from how you deal with adversity.
That's true. That's very true.
It aged really well too, because when you made that video, shipping containers were like $2,000 to $5,000 a container.
Yeah.
Now they're like $15,000, $20,000.
It's amazing how many people have actually come out to Belinda and been like, "You're right."
You got more and more right.
There are people who work for shipping container conversion companies who've come out and said, I hate this freaking idea and I still work for the company. So it's like, thanks. Okay.
I'm glad I haven't heard any 3D printing people say that yet. Most of them are pretty happy to be like working on technology, future stuff.
Yeah.
For now, we'll see.
Okay, what else are you going to talk about? This conversation's gone
All over the place.
all over the place.
It's a podcast.
90% of people clicked away in the first 5 minutes anyway. So
Oh.
thanks to whoever's sticking around.
Got some ranch water. Sour radio.
Do you think you'll cover more 3D printed buildings in the future?
Well, we know one that will be covered.
So we're going to Calgary in 3 days to see the Fibonacci house. Never been to Canada before, so we're excited about that. It's gonna be cold.
Yes. We're going in November.
So that'll be exciting. But I don't know. Maybe. I don't think that'll be the only thing I do, like what you do. I think I'm still interested in other building science stuff. But yeah, maybe can cover some more projects.
I know your channel initially, or at least the banner that you, your YouTube banner
Automation.
is automation.
I know. Like, what does shipping container have to do with automation? I don't know. Yeah, so I've changed the banner now, so it says the art of building science.
Shipping containers are probably constructed with automation in a factory.
Yeah.
By humans.
Really?
It's manual. There's nothing automated about that. Oh, you're saying the actual construction
Yeah,
of
the
the shipping
container.
Ah,
Yeah.
there we go. That's automation. Okay.
Heck,
Yeah.
Welding's pretty automated as is.
Yeah.
Hook it up to a machine, press a button.
Oh, did you go to the Netherlands recently?
I went to the Netherlands this past summer.
Did you see that? Oh,
I didn't see
you
MX3D.
that.
They, I was in Amsterdam like 2 weeks before they put that bridge up.
So that was built by a welding robot, so that's why I thought of that because of what you said.
MX3D.
Never been to Amsterdam. He's been to Amsterdam.
Yep. One night in Amsterdam's all you need.
That sounds naughty.
I spent one night too many in Amsterdam.
I honestly liked the other parts of the Netherlands way more than Amsterdam. Amsterdam was like really touristy, and the rest of the Netherlands just had like really great mentality. Like of all the places in Europe, I think they're culturally maybe the most similar to Americans in that they like really appreciate their liberties and like their independence or something. I don't know exactly if I'm putting it clearly enough, but like I don't know. I just liked the Netherlands.
Well, the Dutch were one of the first to separate from the church. Let's say they became more secular earlier. It was all about trading and unions, so maybe that's in their lineage.
Makes sense.
In their DNA.
What other parts of the Netherlands did you go to?
I was in Eindhoven. I was in Ols, which is like a tiny little city where Sive is, and Amsterdam. That's it.
Okay. I went to Rotterdam and Almere and Utrecht, I think, the capital. Oh no, Den Haag is the capital, I think. And then Amsterdam as well. But yeah, I agree. Like Amsterdam has the old city. It's more the traditional Dutch, but everywhere else you go, you see the modern architecture, which is really awesome.
Speaking of architecture around this area, looks like it's been gentrified.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of modern architecture, kind of like this house. Seems like they picked a good spot to build this.
Yeah, I wonder why. We're in East Austin.
Yeah. Like the whole area when we went to drive down that MLK Boulevard, it's just rows and rows of experimental architecture. Very cool.
It's nice to see.
They
Okay.
were probably like $200,000 5 years ago, and now they're like
Yeah.
a million.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of architectural considerations, if you were tasked with designing a home to be built with this method, would you make?
Architectural considerations if you were using a 3D concrete printer.
Yeah, and if you come up with one and get bored thinking, maybe come up with one that's for like just design purposes, and then one for value. If
Well,
you have the
for-
capacity for
Okay.
two.
For one, I've kind of talked about this in one of my previous videos, but we have this idea of like a central service core where you have all the electrical, plumbing, and everything like feeding out of that central core. And I think a 3D printed home would be perfect in that aspect because like you have this undulating facade on the outside, like it does whatever it wants, and it's not permanent. Like with this home, if you can see in the background, the kitchen is up against the concrete, which could be a problem when you want to renovate the kitchen. So if you have this freeform facade that does whatever it wants, and then everything is on the inside, the bathrooms, the kitchen, so you have this freedom to remodel, tweak stuff if you want down the line, and then the facade is just something you appreciate for what it is. I don't know about like integrating electrical work because that's something you have to do. Maybe it's like it's actually in the ground rather than the wall. And there are many houses that do that have ground electrical. So I would love for the wall to be just bare. Like, don't try to integrate electrical or plumbing into the wall because it doesn't really work.
So clap lights.
Clap lights? Yeah.
It's that is one of the 5 pillars of modern architecture. The
You're
open
going back
floor
to
plan.
architecture school now. Yeah.
You build the core. I mean, Le Corbusier, Villa Savoie is the best example of this. You build the core, and then your facade is free to do what it wants.
It's
So
not
you
even
build the
structural.
space around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which with this it could be structural, but I think that internal core. But we're big fans of actually educating the homeowner to where they can understand how their house works, and I think having that internal core be accessible would help the consumer understand their plumbing, their HVAC, and then be able to change things if they want to, while still having that structural, that solid exterior, well-sealed home on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a printer. Change out parts when you want, modify it the way it's not permanent. Like something like a kitchen up against a concrete wall is really permanent. It's intimidating to change it. So if you have something that's changeable on the inside, it's not so scary.
Did you ever see that design for the modular phone they were supposed to build, where you take the camera off and the battery?
I think so.
Mm-hmm. We talked about that, the modular phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot like the concept you're talking about.
Yeah.
They got bought by Google and never happened.
It's also the new computer that's out. It's modular, where you can actually take it apart, and it's like a right to repair computer. You can replace all the parts. We're big advocates for the homeowner being able to understand their home and fix it themselves.
Yeah, I like the right to repair movement. That's maybe my biggest complaint about Tesla. I would say they don't really offer any repair assistance.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a video right now about planned obsolescence, and the one very interesting argument against fixing Teslas is that cars nowadays are more software than hardware. So in the past, you could tinker with the car and make it do what you want. And is it racist to say
what?
Rice thing? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't say that.
Don't say that. Okay. Okay. So in the past, you could tinker with the cars. You have a lot like the Fast and Furious movies where they have all these customized cars.
Like a Honda with a big souped up spoiler and exhaust. And
yeah. But nowadays, cars are software. I think Elon Musk actually called a car a high-tech computer on wheels, something like that, something along those lines.
Because electric vehicles have so much
software heavy,
fewer parts, so many fewer parts.
So I think I read this very interesting article that said right now people are frustrated with not being able to modify Teslas, but down the line, just like with computers, they're not going to be able to. So that desire to modify a car is going to die out.
Yeah.
So like in the past, computers, you could tinker with it. But now everything's like sorted together. It's unibody designs. So you give up. You're like, okay, a computer is what it is. Buy it, replace it in 3 years. So that's the same thing that's happening to cars. But that was just an argument that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it's a scenario where you don't have to modify it and so you choose not to or you don't, that makes sense to me. I agree with that. But there's other scenarios with other technologies where it's like they choose to use a weird screw head where only the company can unlock the screw, and it's like they're only they just want to make more money rather than let you get the most use out of your product.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
And the EU really cracks down on stuff like that. The US not so much. They call it anti-competitive or right to repair, all that stuff. But the US doesn't really care about that.
Yeah, we have those McDonald's ice cream machines that are like made to break down. That's a lawsuit now. They're suing the company that made them because they purposely apparently made them break all the time, so they had to repair it.
Or the iPhone battery that like degrades over time. I don't know if that's actually what it is, but something of that sort.
Your old iPhones slow down when the new iPhones come out or something.
Yeah, that was a big lawsuit too.
Mm-hmm.
Next, it's like Icon slowing their printers down. They don't even sell printers yet.
Charged by the hour.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm really wary of. It's companies that want you to only use their material. Like, what if they change the prices of the material? Then you made a $500,000 investment and it's still recording.
Oh, okay. I was like, is that okay?
But yeah, if a company, or the same thing like the Prusa you were saying, is the printer modular enough to be upgraded, or is it going to be obsolete when they come up with a new model in 2 years?
When all you need to do is really replace the printer head, and that's it.
That reminds me of like laminate flooring, click together flooring. You can never find that same type of flooring, so you have to go replace all of your floors. Something as simple as that.
That's a good point. You're looking at the ceiling?
Yeah, this is probably
laminate flooring.
270 LVT, 270 a foot.
Yep.
I've done flooring like this, but not on the ceiling.
Nope.
You think it really is the same? It looks like the
I
same.
think it
product.
is, yeah. And it looks fine. It looks good. Interesting.
How did they?
It's sealing
use nail
shiplap.
guns?
The glue that they use for the flooring is so unbelievably sticky,
They use that on the ceiling too.
and it's like a fast setting thing. Like you mix it in, put it on the floor, and then you have 60 minutes, something like that, to get the. You wait for it to become tacky, and then it's like a very short time frame. And it's very sticky.
And then when you have to tear that up, it's an absolute mess.
We tried to do that.
Yeah, we tore a little bit out.
By hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, little crowbar. That's it.
Pain.
Yeah, they have these things you sit on, and it just kind of like shimmies the under it. Those are nice, but they're super expensive. Good for commercial projects.
That's your construction demo background coming out there.
I like how they did all the hardware
Black.
kind of uniform. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very
Farmhouse.
farmhouse style. Is
Yeah.
that Chip and Joanna-esque? They kind of...
So this is the new shiplap. Concrete layers. This is the new shiplap.
I'd love that to be the new shiplap. It means everybody's using a new technology.
Yeah.
Trying new things out.
Mm-hmm.
Experiment with it. I'm tired of stick-built homes. I would like to see people embrace other technologies. Do other things.
It's a lot easier to just throw up some shiplap, though.
It is. I would imagine in a few years, at some point, this wall will just turn into a shiplap wall.
I hope not. But yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, like, decades from now, how the legacy of 3D printing has stood up in construction.
If anything, they would put shotcrete on this and smoothen it out. I see that happening.
But will it be a
Or
fad?
if it becomes a historic building that can't be touched, and I hope that happens. It could be, okay, that's just the stages of historic buildings. Could be someone putting shotcrete and smoothing this out, and then another 50 to 100 years from now,
Chipping it off.
chipping it all off to get the original layers and then restore it to the original home. That would definitely happen.
This is
I
a
can see
really
that.
bad candidate for shotcrete because there's like plus or minus almost 2 inches.
Yeah.
So you'd have to have so much
Yeah.
material
Yeah.
to get it to be straight. You have to conform whatever's sticking out the most. It all needs to be that far from the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It is pretty amazing to be sitting in a house that is one of one. I mean, it's very...
1 of 4.
Yeah. What? Oh, yeah. But there are very few homes like this, and in the future, this could turn into a historic site
Yeah.
because of that. I mean, it's
Unless Icon loads up that G-code file again and
just
It's
does it
great.
again. Yeah.
But no other house is going to be this way. With the imperfections it has and everything that they went through, this was the first round.
very true.
So the next house is going to be a little bit cleaner. It's not going to have the same bumps. It's not going to. It's going to be slightly different. It won't be this way.
Hopefully, they don't go down the Mighty Builds route and just take things away.
Take things away.
Yeah.
Hide it all.
Like
Reduce the printing.
their
Reduce
first
the
printing
printing.
was a complete house, and then it just less and less and less
I
over
see.
time.
Did you notice the little icon anchor above the ring?
Yes.
It said like 00018.
Which one?
The little circle above the ring light.
The
little
medallion?
plaque, yeah.
The
Okay.
medallion. It says 18 at the bottom. Did you see that?
Is
oh,
that
like
is
the
that-
18th house they built?
Maybe.
Oh, I guess those the small houses they built.
Yeah, they
One
have
down
6 of those
there.
small houses. And I guess I gotta check the other houses here. This is number 2, so you figure there must be a 17, this is 18, then a 19 and a 20. So that's 4 minus 6 in the other place in Austin, so that's 10. So that means there's another 10 homes in Mexico, potentially. I don't know.
I don't know how many they built down there.
Yeah, or what they're doing their numbering based off of.
Yeah.
But this is 18 for what that's worth.
That's cool.
Has Icon always been a 3D printed company, 3D printing company?
Mm-hmm.
How long have they been around?
There's a picture of their CTO, Alex LaRue, from I think like early 2017, maybe 2016, in a yellow raincoat in college with like a printer that he built out of 2x4s. He made just like basically a closet, a 3D printed closet size, full height. Really sloppy looking layers, but he made it work. Concrete and raised. I mean, they just raised $207 million. They're probably either at or very close to $1 billion valuation at this point.
When are they going public?
Good question. If I asked them, they'd probably say, "Don't put that in the video." They wouldn't tell me anyway, though. That's top secret for NDAs. Investors probably don't even know. Who knows?
They'll go via SPAC.
Everyone does.
Maybe. Yeah,
Pharmaceutical company with the 3D printed company.
Yeah, there you go.
I should buy at least one share, right?
Yeah.
If they're reasonably priced. But who knows? Maybe. I like value companies that are generating revenue. So I'd like to, the 100 house project Icon does, I think that'll be big. A lot of the issues with this technology has to do with economies of scale. So if you're only making enough concrete for one home, such a tiny batch size, you're going to be paying extra for the custom mix. If it becomes something common, or you're doing 100 homes, now you have the economies of scale you're only moving the printer to locations once. Your team is trained now, they know how to print a house. I mean, if they've only printed 18 houses, even if they're using the same team every time, they can't be that experienced. Right?
Yeah.
So once they do 100, I guess at that point, if they do another 100 soon after, they probably made a lot of money. If they don't, maybe not, but they'll be the first. So unless someone beats them to it.
Mm-hmm. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah. The last question I want to ask is, what other kind of like realms of speculative construction technologies are there? So there's like 3D printing, containers, we'll say as a category, maybe like modular prefab,
Offsite, yeah.
offsite. Are there other categories we can come up with?
I feel like offsite has been the hot topic for the last 20 years and they've never taken off. If they can somehow merge robotics into offsite construction, and offsite is such a broad topic, it can be anything. Like they print 3D printed houses offsite and then assemble it on site. It can mean anything. Apart from that,
I would say look to Europe.
look,
Europe is always...
that's what I thought too, but remember I talked to that guy last week and he said look to China, not Europe.
Oh yeah.
Okay, look further east.
Look further east. Look to China. I didn't know that. I thought look to Europe. That's what I always thought. They're the ones at the bleeding edge of design. But it seems like, from what I've been told, China is the one that's trying to push technology, automation, and all that stuff.
I wonder what impact automation in driving will have on off-site prefab. Because if you have vehicles that can autonomously deliver, does that reduce the cost enough that it makes sense to then print off-site?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a large cost, though?
Shipping, yeah.
Wonder.
Shipping one truck across the country is $1,000.
But even if the truck is autonomous, you're still paying for diesel. It
Or
doesn't matter if
batteries.
you get-
Electricity, yeah.
Yeah.
Still energy though, energy
Still
cost.
energy. So yeah, you're right. The shipping costs are the big concern when it comes to off-site building.
What about bio-based? Like, what?
I think that's always going to be a niche thing.
I always
It is-
imagined you could like plant a seed that would just grow into a house, like
That's a treehouse.
a tree that's built to have plumbing or something.
There are just too many components
Yeah.
for it to be a large-scale thing. Like even if the blocks that you build your house with are bio-based, the wires aren't. Your plumbing is still PVC, which is petroleum-based, and it's. I mean, it's exciting. But I think it would make us rethink flooring and wall finishes, if anything, but not entire construction methods.
Yeah. We're not going to rethink copper for electrical wiring.
Yeah, a bio-based copper material.
Mm-hmm.
No. Nothing's as good of a conductor. Unless you go to silver.
So I spoke to, I don't even remember what company there is now. So I spoke to some company last week that said that the walls of their home can be the battery they're going to have solar panels on the roof, and then the energy is going to be stored in the walls of the home.
As
And I asked them to repeat it.
a capacitor?
Yeah, it has. I was like, so the walls store electricity? Yes.
Did they say it stores electricity?
Yes.
Because I know I've heard of people referring to just big concrete structures as a battery in terms of like it heats up throughout the day and then it releases that heat.
No,
at
no,
night.
no, no. Walls are connected to solar panels.
Charging up as a battery.
Don't touch your walls.
Yeah. Sounds dangerous.
I saw a guy making furniture, like bonsai furniture. Like he planted a tree and then used wires and stuff to fold it so that it would go into a chair.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's what made me think of like the house thing. Like
That's
maybe
true.
you plant 4 trees and those are the something. I don't know.
Wait 50 years and then you get your house.
It's Frank Lloyd Wright's organic architecture realized.
Mm-hmm.
Truly organic.
Have you ever dove into like the treehouse construction? How they do like the pulleys, so that while the trees are growing, you can adjust like each corner of the building and have the
Oh.
yeah. So treehouse, like the tree's always growing, moving. Some of them are built right on the ground, so they have columns from the ground and they're just high up. But other tree houses are suspended with pulleys, so that you, when the tree grows, you just adjust and compensate for the.
Wow.
So if you guys ever want to build a tree house.
Mm.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of topics. Thank you for taking the time to talk about this stuff with me.
Absolutely. Thanks
Been
for
fun.
having us here.
Cool. Make sure to check out Belinda's channel, Chance's channel. I'll leave links to those in the description. And thanks for joining us. Cool. That was great. Good job.
Yeah.
I'm glad you joined us, Chance. You had
Yeah,
value.
absolutely.
You did.